Hey guys, so today I have swatches of the Essie Summer 2020 collection. There are 6 polishes here altogether. I found these on 88beauty.com, but I do believe they're on the Ulta website as well. 6 polishes here altogether, and I'll get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Souq Up The Sun, and this is like a medium creamy orange. So this one is pretty decently opaque on the first coat, a little bit streaky. And just some housekeeping that I feel like I have to get out of the way. The swatch photos and then the intro for this video were filmed like a really long time ago, and I have several videos that are stuck in that state of limbo where like 2/3 of them, I guess half of them because I still have to edit, are done, and then the other half has just been not getting done. So the intro for this video is pretty old, and it's not the only video that's going to look like that. But I'm breaking out really bad right now, so I'm not really game to refilm it just to make it more recent when I think my face looked better in the last one. So just a warning, the intros are pretty old for these videos. Good formula on this one. I was blabbing quite a bit there on my middle finger and overworked it just a bit and ended up making this large streak that would not have been there if I hadn't been trying to talk so much. So you definitely want to try to get this where you want it and then just leave it alone. So this one looks pretty good on the second coat here on my pointer finger, but I had some pretty deep streaks on a couple of these later fingers. So I don't want to call it 2 coats just yet. I want it to dry all the way first. You can see that it does dry considerably darker than it applies. Right now everything's looking pretty good, but I do want to let it dry completely in case it gets a little bit more sheer. Yeah, I can already see some streaks there. I'll probably end up doing 3. I'm adding the third coat here, but I am being pretty picky with that third coat. I definitely do have some streaks and some uneven spots, mainly on these 2 nails. These were the streakiest on the first coat too, so that doesn't surprise me. I was expecting those to get a lot worse as the polish dried, so I thought I was really going to need that third coat, but they really didn't get any worse. They stayed fairly mild, so I think you could get away with 2 here, just depending on your application. I mean, there are definitely still flaws after that second coat, but they're not that bad. I've said this before, but it's the kind of thing where someone would have to be like looking at your nails from an inch away to really see them. No one in the grocery store or whatever is going to notice. But maybe you guys don't care whether someone in the grocery store thinks your nail polish is streaky. Maybe you just care whether you think your nail polish is streaky. I personally worry about total strangers noticing flaws in my nail polish, and that's usually why I end up with a third coat. So, alright, that went off on a tangent, but that is 3 coats of Souq Up The Sun. The next polish is called Worth the Tassle, and this is a lighter, cooler purple. And this one is a little bit sheer, but it covers very evenly. I think that little speck, I don't know if you can see it, is part of my nail. I'll have to investigate that when this polish comes off. It's definitely going to need 2, hopefully just 2 coats. It is starting to run a little bit down the sides of my nail and kind of thin out more at the top. That's usually only an issue I have with the first coat. After that, it kind of sticks to itself, and that's also probably because I do this without base coat. Good formula on this one. So this one is looking pretty good on that second coat. Just like the last one, I'm going to let this coat dry completely before I call it for sure, though. And this one also seems to dry darker than it applies. This almost has a slight, and I say very, very slight, like jelly-ish quality to it. It just looks a smidgen squishy to me. So that second coat has dried, and this actually looks pretty good in 2 coats. I can't pick out any like bald spots, lighter spots, streaks, or anything like that. It really wasn't streaky to begin with. It was just like overall sheer, but it seems to have covered completely in 2. That is 2 coats of Worth the Tassle. So the next polish is called BUSTLING Bazaar, and this is a kind of turquoise cream. This one covers about the same as the orange one. It covers pretty well, but it is still a little streaky. Not super sheer, just streaky. It doesn't seem to be running down the sides of my nails or anything like the last one did, Worth the Tassle. I think that one was just a little bit thinner. And good formula on this. So this one looks pretty good on that second coat. I think this will be fine in 2, but like the other ones, I will let it dry first, just in case. It's been just a little bit too long since I've done my swatches for me not to want to double check these. So the second coat has fully dried on this one. This one also I think is good in 2 for me, but it's a little closer to being sketchy than Worth the Tassle was. You might need 3 on this, just depending on your application. I have some just barely visible streaks still on a couple of nails, but it's not something that I think is worth doing a third coat. So that is 2 coats of BUSTLING Bazaar. So the next polish is called Kaf-Tan, and this is like a burnt orange. It's a very fall color. I really like it, even though this is a summer collection. Whatever, I like it. It's kind of a burnt orange. I feel like it leans a little bit too on the yellow side for me to consider it like a terracotta color, but it's definitely in that family. I'm bad at this. So this polish is really even, like surprisingly even. Right now I don't see any flaws even in that first coat. I have more ridges on my nails as they go towards my pinky, so I'm sure that I will need a second coat. But that first coat on that first nail looks really good. And good formula on this one too. It's like buttery. It just goes on so well. Yeah, I can see some streaks along the ridges on this nail, so I will definitely need a second coat, but it's very close to not needing that at all. So this one covers completely in 2 coats. You can see when I was describing this color, I said that if it leaned a little bit more orange or a little bit less yellow, I would consider it more terracotta. And it actually dries the color that I was picturing as a terracotta. It applies with this slight, like, more yellow tone to it, but it dries a little more orange. And this was really close to 1 coat, and I think if you had smooth nails that weren't full of ridges, like mine have been for the last, like, year, you might be able to get away with 1 coat, if you wanted to. So that is 2 coats of Kaf-Tan. The next polish is called Mosaic On Down, and this is a pale gold foil. So this one is a bit sheer on that first coat. I can see through to my nail line. Not as well from the angle that the camera is looking down at my nail from, but from where I'm sitting, I can see my nail line a bit. This is just a bunch of really tiny gold particles in a clear base. So it is going to come off just a little bit more sheer, but there's so many of those little gold particles in there, it should build up fine. And good formula on this one. I love a gold foil. When you have something that's broken up into slightly larger particles like this than like a really shiny chrome or like a pearl kind of finish would be, you get lots of sparkle and no brush strokes. This is my favorite finish to make metallic polish in. So this one starts to build up pretty well on that second coat. I'm going to give it a close look before I decide what I'm doing here. It actually is looking pretty good. The color builds up a bit better too. Okay, this looks pretty good for me on 2 coats. My nails are pretty short right now. I think if you had longer nails, like a white nail line or just a significant amount of nail line to show, you might need 3. But because mine are really short right now, everything is looking pretty good. I can see some slight flaws, but not anything that I would do a 3rd coat for. So it's just going to depend on the person. That is 2 coats of Mosaic On Down. And the last polish is called Spice It Up. This is a red, but I do feel like it leans just slightly orange. It's not like a red, if that makes any sense. And this one covers beautifully on the first coat. I always get almost frustrated with how well reds tend to perform because they're like my least favorite color to wear on my own nails. This will need 2 coats. I do have a little bit of nail line showing, but it's super smooth and super even. Really nice, like buttery formula on this one too. So I mentioned that this was leaning just slightly orange in color, and I do feel like it dried a little bit more on the red side. Definitely covers completely in 2 coats. It looked really good in 1 even, and it dries very shiny as well. So that is 2 coats of Spice It Up. You know, none of these really stood out to me except for this nice gold foil. And it's kind of a paler gold. It's not a really bright yellow gold. I love a good gold foil, and this is a good one. So Mosaic On Down is my favorite. So that is the Essie Summer 2020 collection. Again, I found those on 88beauty.com. I'll link that website down below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later.